Good evening, everyone. My name is Trevor Goodworth with Ohio University, and tonight we're going to talk about the online Masters in Athletic Administration, and we're going to talk about the actual master's degree of the program and what it entails, and we'll talk about the admissions and application process and, what you need to go through for that. You'll get to meet a couple of our Masters in Athletic Administration Bobcats, and we're going to give you an overview and a snapshot of the program. And as you know, this program is for athletic leaders, athletic directors. We're going to cover some of the coursework, the NIAAA certification, and then we'll have some closing remarks. And we are going to take questions. There's a chat box on the bottom left-hand side where you can enter in any kind of questions that you might have. So just let us know if you have questions regarding the program as well. Next, we wanted to talk about qualifications and how to apply the admission requirements. You have to have a bachelor degree from a regionally accredited four-year college or university. So that is important. A cumulative undergraduate GPA of at least 2.7 on a 4.0 scale in your last 60 semester hours. If it's a little bit lower, that might be okay, but reach out to us and let us know what the situation is. And also a minimum of 2 years athletic administration or coaching experience at the middle school or high school level is pertinent. Also, for the application process, a completed application with a $50 application fee that you'll pay after you uploaded all your documentation, such as your official transcripts, a statement of purpose essay, and a resume detailing all your professional experience, especially at the middle school, high school level, and 3 letters of recommendation from professional references, and one from an athletic director, which is an absolute must. You do have to get a letter from an AD. It can be a former AD, head AD, or retired AD, it doesn't matter, but you have to get an athletic director letter of recommendation. Tonight, I would like to introduce Brett Parcell. He's one of our graduates. Brett, if you don't mind, please give us a little bit about your background and your overall thoughts on the program itself.
Sure. My name is Brett Purcell. I'm the 7 through 12 athletic director at Waynesfield Goshen Local Schools in Waynesfield, Ohio, and I'm in my 7th year as the AD here at Waynesfield. I graduated from the MAA program in December of 2017, so I've been out just over a year. And my background prior to becoming the athletic director here was in professional sports. I have a bachelor's degree in sports management from Ohio University, and then had experience working in the ticket sales side of professional sports for the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Cincinnati Reds, and then had the opportunity, starting with the 2011 and 12 school year, to become the athletic director here at Waynesfield Goshen. So I've been here, like I said, it's my 7th year, and completed the MAA program in December of 17.
Okay, thank you, Brett. Next, I would like to introduce a current student of ours, Jonas Ludke. Jonas, if you don't mind, please give us a little bit about your background and overview of the program currently that you're in.
Yeah. I teach economics, principles of economics, and then AP microeconomics in social studies at Creighton Preparatory School here in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm in my final semester in the MAA program, and I'll be graduating May 4th, 2018 here, so in a couple of months. I have 19 years of high school football coaching experience at various levels. I've also volunteered at youth after practice at some of the different youth programs. I've been on youth boards. I've been on the sports board at my high school, and it's a rotating board with two sets of 4 years. And then as far as the program goes, the program has been outstanding. I mean, it's so applicable to what you're doing. When I was doing classes in the fall when I'm coaching, football, you see so much of the stuff in your day-to-day life when you're coaching or when you're teaching and you're walking through the building. And we were doing a liabilities class, and my brother coaches basketball, and a lot of the stuff we did as far as facilities goes, I'm walking through the game, getting ready to sit down and watch my nephew play and my brother coach, and I'm looking at the stairs and I'm looking at the how high the gate is and the safety stuff. I mean, it's been very applicable to what we as and I aspire to be athletic directors someday. But in the athletics field in general, interscholastic athletics, it's just very applicable to what we do in high schools as far as teachers and coaches.
Thank you, Jonas. Hi, everyone. This is Rebecca, also an enrollment advisor for the program. We're actually going to transition into more about the athletic director role right now. So a successful athletic director maintains that positive relationship. They make the difficult choices and promote a competitive, educational, athletic environment. They're ones who are passionate about athletics and possess a talent for management, as well as, of course, communication. One of the most important skills one can possess is effective decision-making. Brett is currently an athletic director, so I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about the day-to-day of being an athletic director, and also how did you handle the coursework on top of all your responsibilities at work?
Sure. One of the nice things about being an AD is that no 2 days are the same, typically. When you're in season, it's a lot of, there's some repetition to it. It's a lot of game management. You're setting up for this game, and the next night you've got another basketball game or something like that. It does become a bit repetitive, but there's a lot of moving parts, and you have to be able to manage what's going on right now, but also manage what's coming up down the road. In January of basketball season in the winter, that's all rolling and going on its own, and then you have to start looking towards the spring. You have to realize that, at least here in Ohio, come mid-February, baseball and softball practices are going to start, and so you have to manage the gym time between basketball and then the start of spring sports, and then you're working on what's now and then also looking ahead. The time commitment that it took for the program and to still manage the AD position, it was stressful at times, but I would say that it's just like your day-to-day, where you have a lot going on and you just have to dedicate the time necessary to get things done. Whether that's late at night after you get home after a basketball game and you're still working on an assignment, or have to do a discussion board post or something along those lines, or taking 35 or 40 minutes or so in the afternoon and shutting your office door and getting something done. So it's a good precursor for what the job is like in terms of managing that time. And then to kind of piggyback on what was said before, the biggest thing that I found with the program, or the greatest thing I found with the program, is the reassurance or the validation that what we do as athletic administrators is what we're doing it correctly. And I had 4 years of experience as an AD prior to starting this program, and so I had a pretty good feel for the position. There wasn't a whole lot in the MAA program that was a surprise, but it was more of reassurance and validation that, yeah, you're doing that correctly, and the ADs that are the facilitators and the instructors and professors, you're all thinking along the same lines, and what you've done in the past and what you prepare to do in the future, you get that reassurance that, yeah, you're along the right track and you're doing things the way they need to be done. So that was one of the big things that I took from the program.
Thank you, Brett. I know that, Jonas, you're currently in the program. What is it like on the day-to-day trying to handle being a teacher, a coach, and then on top of it, this program? How does your week look like?
Well, it's interesting because you're looking at things through the lens of your athletic director a lot of the times, and it's changed my perspective on so many things that I thought were either easier or more challenging than my AD would make them seem. And so you get kind of a peek behind the curtains to see what and I would even say it's more. You're behind the curtain in a lot of the things because like I said, they're so applicable. And in the work, you're going from teaching and coaching, and if you're obviously you get in if you're passionate about it, but when you go into this, you're talking about sports and you're applying the very the administration aspect, the human resource aspect, the legal foundations class. I mean, in facilities, like I mentioned earlier, you're constantly involved with stuff that you're working around every single day. So whether it's in season in football or in season in wrestling, or whether you're doing out of season lifting for football, and you're looking at strength charts, you're looking at camp dates, and then you start thinking about Title IX, and there's certain things that you just did not think of, at least I didn't think of, prior to actually getting into this program, and it brought things clearer into focus. And as far as the time goes, I thought that allowed, even though at times it is challenging, and it should be. I mean, anything worth getting is a master's degree, so you're going to have times where it challenges you, and that's good. That's going to make you stronger and better for the future. But it's so in line with what you're already doing. If you're an athletic trainer, if you're a coach, if you're a teacher, if you're not in the building but out of the building and coaching a variety of sports or whatever it might be. And I think that really, like I said, I kind of use the expression, you get to see the other side of the bar. Like, you get to see it from the bartender's perspective. You get to see all the different bells and whistles behind the curtain. And I really think that helped to motivate me to want to learn more and to want to get certain projects done. And discussion boards, I would use frustration or even elation. For this past fall, our team won the state title in Nebraska in the largest class. And I was tired, but I was on cloud 9 from that. So doing some of the work was easy because I was writing about kids that one I've known for years and years and years through the theater leagues, but also it was almost emotional writing about some of it because watching those kids walk across the stage and knowing their backgrounds and their limited resources and how football and wrestling and just that structure has aided in their academics, and now they're going to college and they have a chance to go from a rougher part of town to a college and get away and see other things that they maybe not have seen had they not been through sports. It further cemented my determination to become an athletic director and stay involved in sports. I can tell you that much.
Absolutely. As an athletic director, I know I'm sure in Brett's case especially, you're looking to help students to maintain an educational and athletic balance, but that, of course, pertains to not only the athletic director, but also the coaches. So it's always great to hear both perspectives, and especially when it comes to pursuing this program. So to move forward here, I know, Jonas, you had touched on a couple of courses and what you were speaking about just now. I was wondering, is there one in particular that you most enjoyed or that you found most difficult, or tell us more about those courses?
Well, I thought the legal foundations was pretty tough. The risk management and athletics, I thought that was pretty challenging because I didn't think of all the various, the disabilities, the Title IX. I understood Title IX, but we get inside of it and kind of look at it from a different perspective, and you're trying to schedule things and make things. It's about equity, and you want it to be about equity. And you're talking about funding, and I actually have an undergrad in finance. My original working was in business. So I have a BSA in finance. So, when I started working with the numbers, I was naturally at home in that area. But you're trying to make the numbers balance, and as an AD, and I'm sure that Brett could talk about this, but as an AD, you're trying to make the numbers balance in a way that are equitable, but also that the bills get paid. And so that class, and then the other one that I really liked was ethics. The ethics class was very interesting. just some of the dilemmas that you're put in that are common sense dilemmas, but that you don't really think about or take time to further look into, and how they could really jeopardize a program particularly. So I enjoyed that class of the ethical class a lot.
I would say for me, I enjoyed the sport governance and policy development, especially the policy development side. I guess that's something I enjoy in general is, writing policy, examining policy, trying to think through all of the different challenges and options that may come with those policies, and then how you apply those to each situation, because not two situations are always the same, and you may be utilizing the same policy in your handbook but the situations are completely different and the outcomes can be different. And then the other one I would say that I enjoyed was the financial administration class. The scenarios that were given were enjoyable to kind of work through and made you really have to think about all the ramifications of what you do with your finances and your budget. How to take $1,000 and make it stretch, and where resources can be allocated so that they're the most beneficial and the best for your programs. So that was enjoyable, and I think if I remember right, there was a lot of group work in that, so it was kind of fun to work with others in the class to try to solve those problems the best way you could, and everybody kind of had a different way of going about it, so it was fun to examine the pros and cons of those different avenues for the budgeting.
And Brett, I wanted to say that was one of my probably my second favorite class was the financial administration, because like you said, you're in groups and you've got to make cuts, and you might not agree. You take different positions on it, and you're trying to leverage for more, give and take. So that actually is a very enjoyable class. I just to piggyback off what Brett said, great assessment, Brett. Great assessment.
Thank you both, and it's definitely great to hear both perspectives of it, both as a coach and, of course, as an athletic director. So one thing that we have in addition to the courses is an athletic leadership forum that students do have to attend. It's the summer of the year after they start, and it's the last weekend of June. It's Thursday through a Sunday. So I know both of you have attended the athletic leadership forum. Brett, could you speak a little bit more on your experience there?
Sure. It was a great time. You become friends with your classmates through the courses that your groups, and you really only know them through the internet. And yeah, there's some video conferences and things like that, but it's fun to kind of get in a room and finally meet your fellow classmates. And I guess for me, my experience was probably a little different than most others because I did my undergrad at OU. So it was always anytime I get back to Athens and get back to campus, of course, that nostalgia kind of comes up, and it's just I enjoy it maybe a little bit more than someone who isn't from there or didn't go to school there. So it was fun to get back and of course be able to share some experiences with my classmates and kind of show them around town, so to say. But yeah, getting to meet the instructors, getting to work together. I know we did some facility tours around campus. Looking at the basketball arena and the football field and their new indoor facility, and getting to kind of discuss some of the things that you've learned in the classes and then apply it in a real world situation. When you walk into a 15,000-seat arena and you're able to start identifying, like Jonas was saying, you look at things differently after the program than what you did prior to, just because you know more. So those kinds of experiences were fun, and it was a very enjoyable weekend.
Perfect. And Jonas, I know you actually went to a different weekend, I believe the following summer. So anything to add?
Yeah, it it was a fantastic time, and I love the same stuff that Brett talked about, as far as the tours and all that stuff, and then getting to meet the teachers. It was great to put a face with a voice, and obviously with typing and Google videos and whatnot, and then voice threads. So meeting your classmates in various cohorts, and specifically in my cohort, the people I've been working with the most, it was just really cool to be able to sit around and hang out and have dinner and then go to class. But also, the speakers were fantastic. We had Jay Hammis, and I'm not sure if it's the same speakers every year, but we had Dr. Sullivan was fantastic. I mean, this guy, he spoke for, I want to say 2 hours, and he kept our attention. He was just engaging and going through scenarios of leadership and challenges, and Jay Hammis was going through like a scenario that got him really excited about, creating safety measures and preventing liabilities. And it was an unfortunate incident that happened years ago when he was just at an interscholastic event and was walked outside and walked into kind of an issue confrontation going on. But I was going to say also, one of the cool things that happened to me up there is I had a former student athlete of mine from the prep school that I work at that I actually recruited from a very poor area, and I got to know the young man at a young age because he played for a rival youth team that I had coached against, and got to know him and developed a great relationship with him. And he had some unfortunate instances of his family happen. He went on scholarship to Ohio to play football. So he graduated from Ohio and was still living up there, and had just gotten married, and his wife was the manager of the Ohio University end. And so I'm sitting there talking with my classmates, and here comes this 6'6", 300-pound big lineman that just hugged me from behind, and I was really good to see him. I hadn't seen him in years, but I had talked to him, and to see him and to tell him that we're going to be able to both be alumni from Ohio U. It was a big deal because he's one of the pivotal. A lot of teachers talk about. I think all teachers at some point have a pivotal person or few pivotal kids in their career. He's one of the pivotal students in my career that really validated that teaching was what I needed to be doing, that it was my calling, and to see him, it was almost like a divine intervention for me. And I actually told him, he's one of the reasons why I wanted to continue my education, and it happened to be Ohio University, but I wanted to continue my education because of students like him. And now we're gonna, in a short time here, we'll both be alumni of Ohio University, and it's a special thing, and we stay in touch now all the time, and go Bobcats. So.
Absolutely. That's a great story. I mean, again, going back to the whole student athlete, and I mean, that's what it all comes down to as a coach, as an athletic director. That's a proud moment right there. I know you spoke about also our professors, and you mentioned the faculty and getting to meet them. I'd have to say that our program director, Dr. Scott Smith, he's a great guy, somebody that you can definitely get to talking with about anything regarding, especially the athletic director role. Any good conversations with him or with any of the other faculty that you had during that campus workshop?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Brett. I was just going to say, Dr. Evers was great. Aaron Wright, he's great. I got to talk to Dr. Sullivan before he left, and he was very kind, and I had him as a teacher, very kind. I talked to Jay Hammis also before he left, just to get some questions I had, curiosity. But I got to tell you, the professors, Evers, Wright, Smith, I think it's Hamill. They just really good guy, easy to talk to. And Evers was very funny to carry on a conversation with. And just his bluntness is hysterical. So knowing him now as a person and having him as a teacher, it makes some of the feedback more rewarding. The good, whether it's constructive, negative, or constructive, positive. It's more rewarding because I know and respect the man. And, just like the other teachers, they're just very, very easy to talk to.
Yeah, and I would say one of the one of the big things about the faculty is they've all done it. I mean, they have long careers in interscholastic athletics or college athletics, whatever it may be. So they're teaching you from a place of experience. They're not just reciting what they've learned in a textbook or something like that. They're using their real life experiences to demonstrate, what you're learning and how it applies. I'll say one in particular would be Aaron Wright, and that's mainly I had Aaron as an undergrad, so it was interesting to, now that he's involved with the MAA program to then, kind of have him again 10 years later, so we kind of had that connection that we, had previously known each other, and that sort of thing. But like I said, their experience is what really sets them apart, because when they tell you a story or they use a story to demonstrate the point that you're learning, that it actually happened, and those are real world experiences.
And to piggyback real quick, go back off that, Brett, if you go out with them, and I strongly suggest if you choose the MAA program, and I hope you do, because it's a great program, but if you go to the baseball game, if you go to a basketball game, or whatever the event is, go out to the evening event with the teachers, because like I was saying, they get in telling stories from things that dilemmas they've been in, and I heard some of the best stories from an actual truck overturning and cattle running onto a field, while one of the teachers, who I'll let the story leak out on its own, but one of the teachers tells a story about how a cattle truck broke down and flipped to the side of the ditch, and the cattle broke free and were running across as a game was going on. And it was just hysterical hearing the teacher explain the story. And like Brett said, when they're talking from real life experience. So it makes it even more entertaining and a better learning experience.
Exactly. And we do have, of course, those experienced faculty, as you had mentioned, with all of their stories. And what's also great is the association we have with the NIAAA, that our professors have also with the NIAAA, to the point where our students are actually eligible for certain certifications through the NIAAA. One would be the RAA, the Registered Athletic Administrator, and then depending on your experience, the CAA, though you would have to sit for an exam for the CAA, the Certified Athletic Administrator certification. I was wondering, Brett, could you tell us a little bit more? I believe you had received your RAA already. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was able to obtain my RAA through the coursework of this program. When you're an athletic director, and if you're involved at all with your state athletic associations, the state version of the NIAAA, you hear all the time about the LTI courses, or the LTC courses, and those are just, those are the courses designed for athletic directors, to help them. It's that professional development, so to say, coursework and continuing ed that they can do. But one of the great things about this partnership that the MAA program has with the NIAAA is that you earn those courses by doing your regular MAA coursework. A lot of the textbooks that you use are actually the NIAAA books. So, the courses that current athletic directors are taking for their continuing ed are the same, coursework that you're doing through the MAA program. So you kind of get to double up, so to say, and obtain a lot of coursework through the NIAAA just by doing the MAA program. I find that any of the state associations, here in Ohio, it's the OIAAA, and I'm actually the president of the Northwest OIAAA, our subgroup, and it's been a valuable learning experience to have that kind of partnership and networking with fellow athletic administrators, getting involved with those programs, and you just get a whole new insight and perspective into what's going on, and you develop more as an athletic administrator when you are in a continuing conversation with fellow ADs, and so that coursework through your state association or through the NIAAA helps with that process. And like I said, with it being built in, it does two things. It provides credibility to the program because you know that the coursework you're doing is what is designed for athletic administrators, and then you obtain those courses anyway, just kind of automatically by doing the MAA program. So then you're way ahead of the game once you graduate and become, if you're not a current athletic director and you become an athletic director, you're way ahead of most everybody else because you have that coursework already completed, and so you can obtain your RAA and your CAA and go on through those programs, which then only helps you as an athletic administrator.
Thank you, Brett. Definitely some great insight on the process itself and really how it helps those who are looking to be either interscholastic athletic administrators or who already are and looking to certify even further. So I did want to transition here to the closing, but before we do, I wanted to mention one last time that we do have that question and answer box right on the left, or on the left there, I mean. So feel free to fill in any questions that you have for us. I'm going to have the Bobcats here make their closing remarks, but if there are any questions that come through, we'll do those real quick before we wrap up here. Brett, do you mind starting?
Sure. Yeah, I guess the biggest thing I can say about this program is that it truly does validate what we're doing as athletic administrators. It also reconfirms and just allows you to know that you're on the right track. With my bachelor's degree in sports management, I was able to get this job. Part of the reason I went on to get my master's is if, in the future, if I want to, become an athletic administrator at a larger school, I knew this was something that I would need to have. And so when I started looking at the different programs, it was a no-brainer that I was going to pursue OU, not just because of my experience as an undergrad, but for those that maybe aren't familiar with sports management and Ohio University, in the athletic world of either professional business or interscholastic collegiate athletics, Ohio University is recognized as the leader in preparing people to be successful in those. It was the first school to offer a graduate degree in any sort of sports-related business, and that is recognized amongst the professional world of sports. I've had multiple interviews in my career where it was noticed that I attended Ohio University for sports management. It carries some weight out there in the business world when you're trying to obtain a position. People know that Ohio University has the top programs in the sports world. So not only are you getting a great education, a very applicable education, but you're also then getting that weight and that connection of that degree from Ohio University that you can use to get you in the door. It's not, maybe it won't get you the job per se, but it'll get you in the door and get you that interview, and then it's up to you. So, but yeah, really enjoyed my experience with the program. Would recommend it to anybody, and hope those of you that are listening to this will pursue the MAA program, because it really is a great program.
Thank you, Brett. And actually, before we transition to Jonas's closing remark, I had a question specific to Jonas. We have this question asking, while coaching football and teaching, was there a time in the program where it was a little overwhelming? Basically, this individual has taken on a lot, and it's really the timing and is the biggest concern.
Yeah, there was a moment. It wasn't early on because the classes are staggered in a way that you're doing one class at a time. But when it got down to crunch time, and I say this, in Nebraska, our state playoffs run through November up until right before Thanksgiving. Up like the way our school structures the testing and the midterms and the terms, between having 2 preps and being an AP teacher and then coaching, and I take a lot of the kids home that I coach because, it's at a high-risk area, but you're getting home at 8 o'clock at night, you're at JV game on Saturdays, and you're watching film for Fridays, and it does get overwhelming at times, but I noticed it was more overwhelming later in the season. But by that point, excuse me, we were in the quarterfinals and then the semifinals, before we went to the state finals, and we're blessed to earn a state championship. But it was the longevity of the season and the emotional drive kept me going. To be honest with the Q&A, the emotional drive, of knowing I had to get this work done on Sunday and I have a little bit of time. That's my little bit of free time, and I know I got to wake up tomorrow and it starts all over again. But it was that wild roller coaster, perfect storm of where you have, again, the season's going a lot longer than it normally would. If we didn't make the playoffs, which I never want that to happen, because I want the student athletes to experience, something great for all the work they put in, both in the classroom and in the weight room. But it wouldn't have been that bad. But the fact that we were going on, it one, gave me the motivation, but 2, was creating the stress. So it kind of the adrenaline kicked in, and I was able to push through it. So again, I'm a very driven and competitive person. This question kind of goes into what I was going to say about in closing. I picked OU, like what Brett was saying. I looked at 3 universities. I applied to all 3, got into all 3, and I chose OU because my uncle said, "You've always striven to be, you've always struggled to do that. You've always had that drive. You've been driven your whole life. Go to the best school." And he had sent me this picture of OU sports administration, #1 in the world. And after he sent that to me on my phone, I said, all right, and he basically challenged me to do it, and that was the deciding factor, was that OU was that recognized. And when I looked at the list of alumni, and when I asked around, just like Brett had said, it carried weight. And so here now 2 years later, I have no regrets. And to that question again, I would still do it. I would do it over again, even with some of the nights where I got little sleep and knew that I had to do everything over again the next day and take a quiz or write a discussion post and then post on 3 others. I'd do it again tomorrow, because the experience has been so relative to what we're doing in interscholastic athletics, but also the contacts that I've developed. I have friends in Florida, in Texas, in Tennessee, and in New Jersey, Massachusetts, just people that I call, and we'll text, we'll call, we'll email. And some of the people we're in different cohorts now because they had to drop a class and start in a different cohort. So now we're adjacent from each other, but we still stay in touch. And we'll even talk about assignments in different classes in Google Video, Google Chat Video with a group of us, and go over stuff. And again, we're not all in the same cohort, and we're just talking through different ideas and whatnot. So it's allowed us to, it's allowed me to develop a lot of contacts that are in the athletic director world, and that's a big deal in the AD world from what I've seen and what I've been told. So,
Rebecca, if I can, let me just speak on that real quick with the scheduling, because I in the question there, she talks about also being a mom. I would say that when I started the program, I had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. So, working full-time as an AD, all of the game coverages, those sorts of things, and then also having 2 young children, it does put a stress on the time. I found myself working a lot after the kids went to bed, would work for, an hour or so to kind of keep up. But what I will say is that, from my memory, correct, is each course kind of develops a pattern of what each week is like, and they're kind of repetitive in terms of the due dates. Most things were due, Sunday at midnight. The larger projects, you would kind of have the first part of the week, was the discussion boards those would kind of wrap up on Wednesday and Thursday, and then you would have your kind of larger assignment either weekly or every other week, that sort of thing. And so you were able to develop a pattern and a schedule that you just kind of got used to throughout the course of your week of, okay, Monday I'm going to do the first post for the discussion board, and then I'm going to do the responses on Tuesday and follow up on a few on Wednesday. And then, you have 4 days or so to work on that project. So, you really develop that routine, and after a while you don't necessarily even notice that stress of, an assignment coming up, that sort of thing, because you're just doing what you've been doing the previous weeks, and you develop that routine of the assignments. So,
Absolutely, spot on.
Awesome. So I did have another question coming in. Actually, with this one, it was more about the difference in the schools and what you see. Have either of you worked within either private school or public school or both, and kind of have a insight as to what it's like in either one?
I've worked in both.
Okay.
I've worked in both, and to be honest, it's as far as the question, are you asking like the demand?
Basically, what the difference is with dealing with funding and basically getting what's needed with the athletic department. So.
Okay. I noticed that in the private schools they have a lot of quick dials. So in the private school that I've worked at, they have certain boosters that they can call and help the equity, help things become more equitable. And I don't think they can push that button a lot, but in the public school that I coach at, and it's actually where I grew up, the neighborhood I grew up in, basically, the coaches have guys that they can call for help. We have, I think, 3 or 4 guys in the NFL right now from that high school, and we're able to call former student athletes and just kind of explain to them what's happened and what we need. And I know our coach was talking to a guy in advertising before the state championship game, and this guy was able to outfit the team with brand new jerseys that he had made literally the week before the state title game. We found out we either earned a berth in the state title game. So both have kind of the gray area where they can work in, but I think that I know that the structure in the private school for the AD worked more around a board. They had to deal with a board and a facilities person, and then other people that were teachers and staff that were on the board. In the public school, you had an athletic director with assistant athletic directors, actually 3 assistant athletic directors. So that was kind of their core group of athletic administrators, whereas in the private school, there was only one athletic administrator, and it was the AD, and they had various facilities people they had to work with and a board of staff and faculty that were voted on the board in 4-year terms.
For my experience,
go ahead.
For my experience, to answer Michael's question, I've never worked in a private school. I've only worked in a small public school. And my budget and resources is basically based on what I bring in through gate revenue, through ticket sales. So it's you have to be very diligent, but there's also some unknown because those numbers can fluctuate year to year based on, how many home games you have, who your opponents are, who travels well, so the main source for athletic department revenue is ticket sales. What we do not receive is any sort of tax money. That's all going to the general fund to, pay salaries and those sorts of things. So it's purely based on what we bring in, what we fundraise, and those sorts of things. And then the other part, the other resource that you have is booster clubs. We have an overall general athletic booster club that supports all of our athletic programs. And in one of the courses, you'll do a segment on working with your booster club and how booster clubs can and should be organized, and that balance or the relationship that the athletic director needs to have with the booster club and how to approach that. But those, for a public school, typically those are the two main sources. You have your athletic department budget and your revenue that you bring in from ticket sales, and then you usually have some sort of booster organization that fundraises on their own. But they're not just there to do the will of the athletic director. That's where developing that relationship with them comes in, so that when a program needs something or you need something, you have that established relationship and you can ask for those things, and most of the time they'll say yes if they know that it's going to be helpful to the kids and to the students. So I think that would hopefully answers that question.
Absolutely. I think it certainly does. And I know he was also asking about the demand of it. So I guess how is the athletic director role, and how demanding can it be on a day-to-day?
Well, I mean, from the athletic directing standpoint, it's extremely demanding because, typically right or wrong, the athletic department or your teams are kind of the face of the school district. We would like to think that we are all judged on our academics, but when you typically talk about a school, the first thing you think about is, well, how good are they in football, or that school's always been good in basketball. Those sorts of things are what comes to the forefront, not necessarily of, they put a lot of kids in college, or that school has great ACT scores. So you're kind of that public face of the school district, and so your position as an athletic administrator is kind of managing that profile. It's developing relationships with the kids and developing relationships with the parents and the community. It's handling complaints and issues when parents and kids get upset. You've got the game management side where you're doing crowd control and you're being sure everything's run smoothly. The scheduling side of putting together schedules and depending on the situation. Well, I'm in a pretty small school, so sometimes it's walking the halls and talking to kids about joining the football team so that you have enough kids and things like that. So it's demanding in terms of all of the different hats you have to wear, so to say, and all the different aspects that you're managing, because it is that public face. Rightfully or wrongfully, athletics is the first thing that most people think about, and when you talk about a school, so you're the face of that to an extent. So that can be demanding at times.
Absolutely, but obviously you will hold that face well. So I am going to be wrapping it up here. Just wanted to remind everyone who is interested in the online Masters in Athletic Administration program that we, as your enrollment advisors, are here to help you with any other program information that you're looking for, any other questions you might have. If we can't answer them, we can turn to these students as well to get them answered for you. In addition, we are accepting applications right now for the next enrollment term. If you are considering, let's say, our summer or our fall or even our spring, just let us know. We do have 3 start terms per year. Thank you again, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you.